gone. And I put my hands around my wife's neck and did that same thing.
Did Shanann fight back at all?
Hello and welcome to the Patreon channel of True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. We're now at episode 45 in the ongoing series. This is going to be a slightly different episode because the events of the 15th of August are slightly less on the phone data review. I'm combining the afternoon of August 13th, the Monday, the day of the disposal, also the events of August 14th, that's the Tuesday from the phone data review, and then also the 15th, which as I say is not very much. I think all in all it's around about 5 pages. So I'm going to run through that in a continuous way, and we're going to again base our analysis right now mostly on what is in the phone data review, going through it line by line. In terms of the final episodes, possibly 47, 48, 49, what I'm considering doing, especially through at least one of those episodes, is addressing some of your questions. So some people have spoken about they don't understand why there was no cadaver odor. If the cadavers were in the house, they don't understand how it's possible. Or in other words, it's impossible that there was no cadaver odor if there were cadavers in the house. So that's kind of one question. Someone else sort of mentioned what's not a stage, the bedding, if Shanann could remotely view what is on the baby monitor. That was another question. So if while you're listening to this episode you've got any questions, you can either jot it down or you can leave it in a comment. I will try to kind of invite you guys to ask questions. We can maybe even put them up on Patreon and have a discussion about it, as in maybe 20 questions, just put them up, your questions. And I don't know whether I'm going to do a live. I just find so far when I've done it, it sort of just becomes sort of a chatty conversation. That's fine, but not for this particular time and scenario. So I'm a little bit disinclined to do something like that. I do intend to do more lives in the remainder of this year, but I do want to almost focus the discussion on true crime. And so far in the lives that we've done, it's sort of been friendly, conversational, but not really dealing with true crime. Something else that I'm going to do also as part of just the finalizing of this series is I'm going to put up the Chris Watts Sermon on the Porch. They're kind of 2 parts. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do the second part, but I'll certainly be able to do the first 7 or 8 minutes. And so I'll have that on the television, and then I'll record myself kind of in front of it, pointing certain things out. I've kind of always wanted to do that. I thought I might need to buy a green screen, but I think there's a kind of a simpler way of doing it. Of course, now that I've got an assistant, it's easier to sort of press start, stop on a recording kind of thing. Not only in terms of the TV, but also the recording device, from the perspective of someone recording the whole thing. So when I try that, I am trying a couple of new things. I'm just trying to improve the video aspect, making it a bit less of a slideshow, and more fluid and sort of authentic, if that's the word. less static and more kind of real. So that's what I'm going to sort of try and work on a little bit, especially going forward. But now let's get started with today's episode, and we're going to pick it up on about page 2125, maybe even just slightly before that, where the thrivers actually start activating in terms of what's going on with Shanann. And so Watts' phone starts blowing up, where various people start contacting him directly to say, okay, what is going on with Shanann? It's noon, we still haven't heard from her, what is going on? And it starts with Nicole Utoft at about 12:18, immediately after she sort of arrives at the front door. And he could actually see her arriving at the front door on his phone, so he can observe what is going on remotely. Then about 3 minutes later, Josh calls him. Then at 12:27, Nicole calls him again. Watts calls Nicole, but they talk again. Immediately after that, he gets a text from his realtor, and she wants to know, well, have you finished the basement? Have you upgraded anything else in your home? At 12:31, Eddie contacts Watts. So all these thrivers are sort of kind of jumping onto him, like, where is she? What's going on? And if Watts wanted a quiet moment to stage something from her phone, he probably felt, well, as soon as he turns on her phone, there's going to be a flood of messages. How's he going to handle that? At 12:41, Watts called Nicole again. I think this was their third conversation. Now we're on page 2125. It's page 45 of the phone data review. And it's at 12:43, Cassie talks to Watts. And Cassie's kind of she doesn't take any nonsense. Nicole can be quite sweet. She seems a little bit more reserved than Cassie. Cassie kind of is quite no nonsense with Watts, and she kind of tells it as it is. And so she says to Watts in a text, Shanann's in a very bad way emotionally, and I'm worried about her. And Cassie's right. She says, I know you are having issues. I don't know to what extent, but I do know I've never seen her so broken, so I'm worried. And Watts just responds, she's gone to a friend's house with the kids, but she won't tell me where. But when I get home, I will update you. So at this point, he's kind of thinking he's going to get home sort of Monday afternoon, maybe 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And he will then continue to sort of delay, postpone, and deceive. He will have the luxury of, after he returns from work, dealing with Shanann's friends and family. But that's not good enough for Cassie. Very shortly after that, Cassie tells Watts, kind of in a diplomatic way, she says, "Sweetie, nobody knows about you and her other than Nikki and I. And so where would she go if not with Nikki and not to Arizona where I'm at?" It's quite a good point. Where else would she go other than to Nicole Atkinson? She might go to the Thayers, but the Thayers don't really know about the drama, which is why Watts goes to them. At this point, the Thayers don't know about any of the things, the not wanting the baby, the separation, all that kind of thing. I don't think they know about Nutgate either. I mean, at this point, I don't think they know about Nutgate. Someone else who knows exactly what is going on, though, is Eddie. So although Cassie tells him it's just us, Nikki and Cassie, Eddie actually also knows a lot, and that's another thing I'm going to be putting on one of these episodes leading up to episode 50. Episode 50 will be the final episode in this series, but I will be doing a separate phone data review of all the correspondence from the beginning to the end with Eddie, and that is quite eye-opening in itself. Some of you may have seen some of it. I don't think many of you have seen all of it. And even yesterday when I was going through it again, there were things that I was like, wow, have I actually seen this before? So it I think is going to be quite an eye-opener for some of you. Now, bear in mind what we're doing when we do this. Each time is a sweep over the information. We do a sweep through, say, the phone data review. We do a sweep through the discovery. We do a sweep via this person's insight. We do a sweep via that person's version of events. Each one is like a piece of the pizza. And the more pieces we put together, the better our sense of what kind of pizza are we dealing with here. And ultimately, there are always going to be little pieces missing, small little ingredients missing. But we're certainly not going to end up not knowing what we're dealing with. We're going to know that it's a particular kind of pizza, like a Four Seasons or whatever. Almost daily, I see somewhere on true crime forums, whether on YouTube or my own, somebody saying, oh, wow, we'll never know what happened here. We can know almost 90%, maybe even higher, what has happened in many true crime cases. It is true, we can't know 100% absolutely what happened. And even if you had video, if you had someone with a video camera recording a crime from one end to the other, you still wouldn't know exactly what was going on, because there would still be the component of what's going on in the person's mind. What pain did the victim actually experience when they suffered? You're never going to have absolutely 100% knowledge of exactly what happened, but you can certainly know pretty much what did happen. And those who know true crime rocket science have seen it time and time again, that you do get an authentic sense of what really happened with these people. So going through that phone data review is going to, I think, nicely encapsulate it all in one timeline, one fairly brief timeline as well. So there's quite a lot of back and forth between Watts and Cassie. It's kind of unusually, Watts is being unusually communicative, and it is doing it with Cassie. And Cassie kind of says to him, you know, we don't really know what's going on with you, but she's kind of challenging him. Who would Shanann go to besides us? And I mentioned, I think in a previous episode, that Watts had said something like, I think it's in the audio of episode 45. I said something along the lines that one of the things Watts said in the first minute when he spoke to the media, was that when he got home there was nothing. He didn't first say, when I got home they weren't here. He said, when I got home there was nothing, which is almost like saying, well, there's no evidence. You know, when I got home there was no evidence, which is exactly what he wanted. He wanted there to be no evidence. He wanted there to be nothing indicating what had actually happening. And so he gives that away. He gives away what he's thinking. When I got home, you know, there's nothing. There's nothing that was going to lead you to think that I did this. That was a bit of a slip of the tongue. Then he follows it up saying, they weren't here. He should have said that first. But he's actually wrong, and he's actually lying, because there wasn't nothing. The problem was that there wasn't nothing. The problem was that her phone was there, the problem was that her shoes were there right by the door. The problem was that the medication was there. The problem was that her car was there and the car seats were there. So it was the exact opposite. The problem was that it wasn't nothing. It was that everything was there, and it didn't make sense that all her stuff was there, but they weren't there. Why was Shanann's purse and car and phone, her lifeline, and the children's medication all at home, the car seats, the car, everything at home, but the kids not at home? And if they'd gone to a play date, they most certainly would have taken the car seats with, unless it was someone else who had car seats in their car. But there again, he's making the mistake of he took the kids without the car seats to the well site, and now he's not thinking, well, what about the car seats? Just slipped his mind. And so Cassie tells him this. She says her car and shoes and everything is at the house. It's a really good point.